This programme is powered by Hankook tyres, Autosportinsurance.com, Valero race and rally base layers, and Magla. Create your own digital magazine. Welcome to the Supercar Challenge powered by Hankook. In this episode we take a look at the season opener at the circuit of Zandvoort, featuring the highlights of both 1 hour races. It was a great opening round with 40 entries divided into 3 classes: GT, Supersport 1 and Sport. The Supercar Challenge uses simple regulations which allow teams and drivers to focus on the racing and driving pleasure and not be hindered by complex rules. That's the reason why after 17 straight seasons, there's still a huge field of entries with a wide range of car makes and evolutions, all trying to get as close as possible to the appropriate power to weight ratio. In the GT class, that's 3.4 kilos per horsepower, the lowest ratio of the 3 divisions. As a result, GT is the main class of the Supercar Challenge powered by Hankook. In the GT class, we find cars like the Cup Porsches and BMW Silhouettes. The quicker touring cars go into Supersport 1, 4.1 kilos per horsepower, and here you'll find Seats, BMWs, Ginettas and Lotuses. The third division is the Sport class, power to weight ratio of 5.6 kilos per horsepower. Only 4-cylinder engines are allowed as well. Clio, Cup and Peugeot cars perfect for the class. So that's how the series works, and the season kicked off during the Easter races at the circuit of Zandvoort, a circuit with plenty of history. The first race at Zandvoort was the 1948 Dutch Grand Prix, and 50 years on, the track was modified to its current layout, some of which was resurfaced over the winter. Now that should offer more grip, but the frosty temperatures in the traditional Easter weekend made it difficult to keep tyres at operating temperature. And those tyres, well, they're new for the teams this season because the Supercar Challenge has a new tyre partner in Hankook.
The first impression is now we understand why it's called Supercar Challenge. So many different type of cars. This is a real challenge, but we managed it very well. Our tires managed the whole event very well so far. So that's the reason why we are really surprised, and we are happy at the moment.
Last year, Belgians Vaard Sluis and Chris Matthews dominated the GTB class, claiming the title in JR Motorsport's BMW M4 Silhouette. This year, Vaard returns in the BMW, number 111 on the door. This time, though, his teammate is fast Dutchman Bas Schouten. Despite Vaard having more experience with the Silhouette machine, Bas sets pole for the first race of the season.
Ja, dat was eigenlijk een beetje ook de opzet van dit jaar. Ik denk dat ik op een
That's exactly why I teamed up with Bas this year. It got to the point really where I needed a younger co-driver to keep pushing myself to create some more excitement. I've been racing this car now for a couple of seasons, and I needed somebody like Bas to teach me new tricks, to help me improve my own lap times. So the goal this season is to get quicker with the help of a younger co-driver. We'll have to see how that goes. JR Motorsport's success hasn't gone unnoticed. The team's now bigger than ever. They're running 3 BMW M4 Silhouettes this season. In number 121, Porsche refugee Dan Meyer. He'll do the full season. So too will Mark van der Aert, Peter van Solen and Koen Burkhardt in the 3rd Silhouette, number 123. Bob Herber's another full season entry with a very special BMW M3 F80, but because the car wasn't ready for the opening weekend, he raced in the GT class with JR Motorsport's BMW E90 WTCC machine, car number 108. Competition comes in part from Team Racer with a pair of Porsche GT3 Cup 991s. Number 107 is entered for former Super GT champion Roger Growls. He set 3rd fastest time for the opening race, very close indeed to the nimble BMW Silhouettes from JR Motorsport.
Als ik goed bekeken heb, 18e
I
van
think
de
we missed out on pole by 8 tenths. We're half a second slower than the second car. Dan Meyer was a bit slower, so he's going to start behind me, so it looks like it'll be a close battle. The second Team Race Art Porsche is driven by Edward Growls, his brother, who hasn't raced for 5 years. Well, he's back in GT now, albeit a bit rusty, but he still managed to take 6th and 4th during qualifying, so we expect to see good things from him. The GT class is the fastest division this year. Last year it was Super GT. That category has now moved to the GT and Prototype Challenge, a new championship that kicks off later this season. Reigning Super GT champions are Greek Costa Canaroglu and Spaniard Oliver Campos Hull. They claim the title in the Mosler MT900R run by E2P Racing. Costa returns to Supersport 1 with a Ginetta G50 GT4, again run by E2P Racing this season. It's not a new car to him. He won the Spanish GT and VDV titles with it, but if the car's not new, the circuit certainly is.
It's scary. Zandvoort is scary. It's great. Well, I don't know. We're going to see. It's very, very competitive. It's, I think, a tenth of a second difference between all of us, apart from the first one, which is miles ahead. So I don't know. It's going to be fun. It's I used to race this car 5 years ago, so I'm getting used to it. Everything is manual, you know. So it's I don't know. It's something different this year.
Costa will be up against the reigning Supersport champions Dennis de Borst and Martin de Klein, who took a well-deserved title last year, completely erasing their points disadvantage with driving skill rather than the misfortune of their rivals in what was a remarkable end to the season. Ferry Monster Autosport enters 4 Seat Leon Cup races, upgraded with Seat Sport's new Aero package, which will improve both cooling and grip, all very necessary because the competition will be extremely close. The results of qualifying were immensely close, so tight. Eric van der Monkhoff managed to get a gap ahead of everyone else, but we changed some setup for qualifying. That didn't improve the car, so we'll change it back and see what happens in the race. Pole for both races was indeed earned by Eric van der Monkhoff with new teammate Henry Zumbrink. Last year, Eric had a shocker. He seemed to have all the bad luck going. The car was wrecked 3 times in freak accidents not of his making.
Ja, vorig jaar was een jaar om heel snel te vergeten. We hebben dit jaar weer goed opgepakt.
Last year was just a total nightmare, one I'd like to forget in a hurry, he said. So we decided to try something new. I asked Henry Zumbrink if he'd like to join me this season. And at the last moment we managed to come to an agreement. I think it's a good decision. We're already showing good pace. Henry managed to set pole position today, and with the lap times we've got already, things are looking promising. I think we're going to do well this season. We'll certainly try to. Qualifying was very exciting. I think the car's great fun, really suits me well. And with a new set of tyres, didn't take much to claim pole. We'll take a look at Sport Class shortly, but first, a brief look at the first race. Without Bas Schouten and the BMW M4 Silhouette on the grid, however, after qualifying, the M4 lost all its brakes. The team had to change the master cylinder in record time and bleed the system, but they were too late to make it to the grid, so he'll start from the pit lane. As the race got underway, it was the Team Race Art Porsche of Roger Growls that headed the field. Schouten impatiently starting from the pit lane. Growls held the lead in the Porsche for a number of laps, but eventually he would crack under pressure from the Silhouettes at their very best on this tight, twisty track. He lost the lead to Peter van Solen. Dan Meyer also got by, and then Bas Schouten too worked his way up to Roger Growls to take second place in his stint. Bart Slice got close to Mark van der Aar, but at the finish line the difference 14.7 seconds. Mark van der Aar and Peter Solen taking the full 25 points for race 1 victory ahead of Bart Slice, Bas Schouten and Roger Growls in third from Cor Oyser. Tried to make sure I lost as little time in the back markers as possible, said Mark. I saw Vard Slice was getting closer, but as soon as the road was clear in front, I knew we could win it. Good race. In Supersport 1, Eric van der Monkhoff held the lead up to the compulsory mid-race pit stops, but the stop didn't go well for the BMW. They lost the lead and would recover from their mistake to retake it, but near the end dropped out with engine problems. Everything went pretty much according to plan, said Henry. Eric had a great start, managed to stay in front of the others during his stint, but after the pit stop when I went out, we lost a couple of places. I'm not quite sure what went wrong, although when I left the pits, a Seat in front of me did brake hard and that caused me a bit of a delay, but I was able to get back in front. Unfortunately, 2 laps before the end, the engine let go, a real shame. They weren't alone in their woes in the Supersport 1 class either. Ruud Ollie's engine blew up. That brought out the safety car. And Teunis van der Grift got hit by his teammate Robin Monster as the two tripped over each other, completely misreading the other's intentions. Teunis de Grift and Martin Heisman say it was out of the race. Robin Monster was forced in for an extra pit stop. He had a broken wheel rim and of course therefore a flat tyre, dropping him back to 12th spot. The former champion was racing with Dennis Heuveling for the Easter weekend, a round he would soon rather forget. And that applies just as much to reigning champions Dennis de Borst and Martin de Klein. Victory snatched from their grasp by low oil pressure would put the engine into limp home mode. So the first race win of the season went to Costa Canaroglu on his debut in Supersport 1, completely against his own expectations, outpacing his BMW and Seat rivals.
They just told me go and I went. A bit like Forrest Gump, I guess. I don't know. It was great. The car was fantastic. The tires didn't degrade so much, so I was able to keep the rhythm until the end. And I don't know. I guess everything went well, didn't do any mistakes. So the results just came by itself.
Last year, Bart Drost and Niels Kuhl won the Sport class title with a 6-cylinder BMW 135i run by David Tech Engineering. This year, only 4-cylinder engines are allowed in Sport, so Bart Drost had to look for another car. And that is the Renault Clio 3 RS run by Spirit Racing, but it's not the easiest car to get used to. It really requires a lot of driving skill. Less power, less torque. You need to keep the speed up through the corners. Every corner you need the perfect line. Every mistake, you get instantly punished. He has to take on the newer generation Renault Clios like Melvin de Groot's. Another strong car will be the Peugeot RCZ of championship runners-up Chris Vogt and Bart van den Broek. Martijn Kuhl and Piet de Geer are also signed up for the Easter racing weekend with a Peugeot RCZ, but this endurance version has 30 horsepower more, so they've had to add weight to comply to the power-to-weight ratio. Also returning are Henk Tappel and Harold Wesseling. This time, their BMW Silhouette boasts a Honda S2000 4-cylinder motor. In the first race at Zandvoort, Melvin de Groot took the lead with the Renault Clio 4, ahead of Martijn Kuhl and Bart van den Broek, both with Peugeot RCZs. But after an hour of racing, Chris Vogt and Bart van den Broek beat Melvin de Groot to win the race by 2.7 seconds. John van der Voort and Sander van der Slot with the Alfa 147 GTA finished on the podium in third spot.
Ja, eigenlijk schitterend.
A really good result, said Bart van den Broek. Had a good start. Couldn't keep Melvin de Groot behind me, but I did manage to get by John van der Voort, who had a better qualifying time. A couple of laps later, got by Melvin de Groot and Tarzan, up to second. Then the safety car came out. So I decided to come in immediately, hand the car over to Chris. He did a great job. He took the lead, kept it to the finish. An amazing result. Time for a look at Sunday's race 2. Pole position held by Mark van der Aar and Peter van Solen. Next to them, Vard Slice and Bas Schouten. This time they do make it to the grid. In race 1, they started from the pit lane, but still finished second. On the second row, Roger Growls with his Porsche, hoping for rain. The team have been busily practicing wheel changes and scrubbing in wet weather tyres for maximum grip. At the back of the Supersport 1 field is Dan Meyer. His BMW M4 Silhouette had a broken gearbox. Here's the replacement JR Motorsports WTCC 3.2 E90 M3. But missing from the grid, Supersport winner from race 1, Costa Canaroglu, working hard to get the Ginetta ready, the E2P racing team. The wheel nut sheared. They had to replace the complete suspension on the left rear. But they do manage to get the car ready in time to make the race, and he will be on the grid. It's cold and blustery, 18 degrees of track temperature. 2 warm-up laps to try and get some heat into the brakes and the tyres. On board with Erik van der Munkhoff, Supersport 1 pole sitter. Looking behind him at the Porsche and the BMW. Alongside 127, the Rainbow Marcus Mantis of Korreuser, who's 5th place. Porsche second row, BMW Silhouette front row. The BMW's got the lead at the start of the first race. Lights out, they charge down to Tarzan for the first time. Porsche's 3rd and 4th. Look at the Marcos making a move. Down the inside in Supersport 1, Benjamin van der Berg brushes by Marcel van der Maat. He's inside the red, white and black car of Erik van der Munkhoff as well, but van der Munkhoff with the drive on the exit of Tarzan, and there is Van den Berg. There's the Seat in third place, that's Danny Kroos. BMWs, Mark van der Aar ahead of Bas Schouten, third place Roger Growls, fourth Kurt Oyser. Down the inside comes the Seat from fourth on the grid to second. Danny Kroos being very aggressive, gets by Van den Berg for second in Supersport 1 as the BMWs jockey for the lead. Roger Growls in third place, Brother Edward up to fourth ahead of Kurt Oyser. Battle for third in Supersport 1. Orange car, Marcel van der Maat. Benjamin van den Berg in the 1 Series, the white car. Looking down the inside of Sky Flat contact. Van der Maat off in the gravel on board with him. Can he keep the momentum up? Yes, it looks like it, but look at all the cars that have streamed by. He's going to rejoin about last. Leaders, dark car, Mark van der Aar, white car, Bas Schouten, then Roger Growls, then his brother Edward ahead of the Rainbow Marcos of Kurt Oyser. Seventh is our Supersport 1 class leader, Erik van der Munkhoff. Well, a great start from teenage sensation Danny Kroos, the 17-year-old Dutchman. Let's take a look at the start. There's Benjamin van den Berg in the 1 Series in front. He has a look down the inside. Don't forget, he started fourth. Van den Berg there inside the BMW Z4 of Erik van der Munkhoff. They're side by side in the battle for the lead in Supersport 1. Van der Munkhoff stays around the outside. And then as the road goes left up ahead, he will have the lead. But up the inside comes Kroos. Now hot on the heels of Erik van der Munkhoff, which is where he has stayed since the very beginning of the race. And here is the view of Danny Kroos from Erik van der Munkhoff, the Supersport 1 leader in the BMW Z4 GT3 that he shares with Henry Zumbrink. Kroos, by the way, sharing with Priscilla Spelman in their Seat Leon. Benjamin van der Berg in third place behind, ahead of Dennis de Boerst, the reigning champion, and Martin Heisman. But Danny Kroos not content to sit behind Erik van der Munkhoff. The Seat, better grip there. Through he goes for the lead onto the front straight. And is there a change for the lead coming up here as well? Yes, there is. Bas Schouten with a slipstream down the inside into Tarzan, drafting up behind Mark van der Aar. Identical cars using his momentum well. He goes through into the lead. Dennis de Boerst trying to do the same for third in Supersport 1. Benjamin van der Berg didn't get a good exit. De Boerst did, though. The Seat Leon already alongside. You can just see the BMW there. And in the mirrors, Martin Heisman's Seat Leon and Dennis Heuveling as well. Inside line for Dennis de Boerst. He moves up into third, but the BMW has got good traction. Clings on there around the outside at Tarzan. And that's going to drop him back into the clutches of Martin Heisman and this man, Dennis Heuveling, who shares with Robin Monster. Robin and brother Ferry, former champions, and now running the team, Ferry Monster Autosport, that runs these Seat Leons. Well, look at the top of the hill for the white BMW. The Seat Leon coming around the outside. That's Martin Heisman. Further back, the yellow nose of Costa Canaroglu's Ginetta. Now in front of him, he's got a BMW of Dan Meyer. The former Porsche racer started from the back of the grid in that replacement car. He's not raced it before. And look what goes wrong here. Gets a little bit too much oversteer, clatters into the Porsche Cayman of Pierre-Etienne Bourdais. And luckily for Costa Canaroglu, exits stage left. Dennis Heuveling, the yellow car, attacking Martin Heisman for fifth in Supersport 1. But safety car scramble because of Dan Meyer's BMW crash. Well, there is no contact as we ride on board with Dan Meyer. Just trying to get used to this car. You see the Porsche have a bit of a wiggle. He looks to the inside, but then he too loses rear end grip on the exit of the corner. And that's a big old shunt. The BMW was wrecked. Meyer only hurt his foot, but looking back, look how close it came to disaster for Costa Canaroglu. The BMW slides wide, slaps the Porsche on the outside, and Canaroglu dodges that bullet. And again with Meyer, first time he's ever raced this car, used to what a 911 does, and the BMW just catches him out. Safety car is out for removing the damaged car and tyre barrier repairs. Nowhere near the pit window yet, so everybody stays out on track. This programme is powered by Hankook tyres, Autosportinsurance.com, Valero race and rally base layers, and Magla, create your own digital magazine. This programme is powered by Hankook tyres, Autosportinsurance.com, Valero race and rally base layers, and Magla, create your own digital magazine. Welcome back to the Supercar Challenge powered by Hankook for the first round of the championship at Zandvoort over the Easter weekend. An impressive start to race 2 where the field of 40 cars make it through Tarzan without any problems. In the fastest division, the GTs, Bas Schouten taking the lead from Mark van der Aar in their BMW M4 Silhouette. In Supersport 1, 17-year-old sensation Danny Kroos taking the lead from veteran Erik van der Munkhoff. And then on lap 2 it all goes horribly wrong for Dan Meyer, losing control of his BMW at Skyflak. A heavy impact with the wall bringing out the safety car for 5 laps. And that allows recovery of Dan Meyer's heavily damaged BMW and repairs to the safety tyre barriers at Skyflak. Back to green flag racing at Mark van der Aar and Bas Schouten's BMW M4 Silhouettes ahead of Roger Growls. Good restart from Benjamin van den Berg, getting a good run on Dennis de Boerst around the outside of the Seat Leon for third in the Supersport 1 class. Can he hang on? No, he can't. De Boerst uses the inside line to his advantage. Van den Berg all over the back of him. He's shaken off this battle. Martin Heisman on the left and Dennis Heuveling as they squabble for 5th and 6th in their Ferry Monster Autosport Seat Leon Cup races. Leader Mark van der Aar pulling away from Bas Schouten, then Roger Growls and Kurt Oyser. Edward Growls, Marcel van Berlo, Danny Kroos together. He leads Supersport 1. There is Bob Herbert, and then Erik van der Munkhoff under pressure from the Seat Leon of Dennis de Boerst, 201 on the inside. De Boerst squeezes through. Despite dramas, Erik van der Munkhoff's engine replaced overnight by Van der Pas Racing Team after it let go in race 1, costing them a win. Haven't got the same performance in this spare engine. Erik van der Munkhoff losing positions, deciding then to go early into the pit lane rather than stay out late. Perhaps he's hoping teammate Henry Zumbrink will fare better in the second part of the race. Supersport Race 1 winner Costa Canaroglu started 6th on the grid, but was down to 9th on lap 2. And we saw that incident, and here's why. Ran wide out of Kumo, Ronald van Loon goes by, and Pierre-Etienne Bourdais in that Porsche. Dennis Heuveling handing the Seat over to Robin Monster, and here's where result seconds come into play. Race winner gets 15 seconds, second place 10, third place 5, added to the mandatory 1-minute pit stop. And that's why the BMW there of Robert and Benjamin van den Berg has an extra 10 seconds after being second in race 1. Robin Monster ending up on the tail of Henry Zumbrink, who'd earlier taken over from Erik van der Munkhoff. Both had 0 result seconds after disastrous race 1s. Zumbrink second in Supersport 1, Monster was third until he suddenly slowed down. Turned out that his seat belt had undone itself, probably wasn't done up properly during the pit stop, so he stopped for a few seconds to reconnect the belts. Wisely so. Different story, but just as unusual for Jimmy Adriansons, back for a full season after getting a back injury crashing hard in 2013. The team decided to use fuel from the circuit petrol station. The engine's not running properly on it, and they're going to have to make changes to the ECU to allow him to continue. On board with Danny Kroos in the Seat, still leading Supersport 1, late pit stops, and now he's finding cars that have already stopped in front of him. He needs to get by them as quickly as possible to stop losing time, which will then cost him time after his pit stop. Supersport 1's been very well balanced so far this year, very little speed difference between the 3.2 litre 6-cylinder BMW and the 2 litre turbo in the Seat. Diving up the inside into Tarzan, outbrakes himself, goes by Peter Skurs, and then trying to fight his way back around the inside to Hugenholtz. Has to go the long way around the outside first, but now if he's got an overlap, and Peter Skurs just outbraking himself and getting a little nudge onto the grass as Danny Kroos goes by and completes the pass. Kroos bringing the Seat in for the mandatory pit stop. Dennis de Boerst also in at the same time. Separate pit stops for GT Supersport 1 and for Sport. GT Supersport 1 in race 2 in between the 20th and the 30th minute of the hour-long race, and then Sport after that. So Danny Crow staying out as long as he could in the short first stint. Priscilla Spellman in the Seat Leon then ahead of Henry Zumbrink after all the pit stops have been completed, with Martin de Klein, Dennis de Boer's car in third place. Zumbrink with the down on power Z4 struggling to get the straight line speed to come past Priscilla Spellman in the Seat Leon, has to use all his knowledge and experience. Good drive by Zumbrink, still getting used to this BMW. Bas Schouten leading the GT class before the pit stops from Mark van der Aar, the BMW M4 silhouettes out front, and Schouten trying to build as big a lead as he can because the same rules apply. After finishing second in race one, Bas Schouten Vaardsluis will have to add 10 seconds to their mandatory pit stop. In they come. Race winners Mark van der Aar and Peter van Solen also coming in will need to add 15 seconds to their stop. This all done as an extra handicap for the more successful driver lineups instead of adding weight like in other series. And that means that the car handles the way that it should do, uses the tyres the way it should do, has the same fuel economy and power performance. It's just the drivers have to wait a little longer before having fun. Congratulations there from Mark van der Aar to Bas Schouten for leading in the first stint. Vaardsluis heads out of the pit lane, and Van Solen should leave 5 seconds later, plus the time that they'd lost in the first stint. But problems remounting the removable steering wheel dropped them down to third place behind Roger Growls. 10th place battle in Supersport. Porsche ahead of us is Pierre-Etienne Bourdais as we ride with Peter Scheuers, who shares the orange BMW with Marcel van der Maat. Peter Scheuers makes the move on the Porsche, still recovering after ending up in Skyflak in the gravel trap on lap 1. Marcel van der Maat making the start of the race. Nothing's an easy pass here. Zandvoort always leads to good close racing. Scheuers taking 9th place, exiting Skyflak. Pierre-Etienne Bourdais sticking to the task though, keeping the pressure up. All over the back of the BMW until this little moment. Scheuers runs wide, spits off a bit of bodywork, scares the bejesus out of Pierre-Etienne Bourdais. Now in front is newcomer to the championship Olivier Nutgeboren. He comes with a car and a trailer and a single mechanic, showing that you can do this on a real shoestring budget. Peter Scheuers all over the back of the 3.2 BMW M3 in front of him. So the M3 GTR right behind. This is quite a battle of equals. The GTR a little bit more sophisticated perhaps, but Olivier Nutgeboren doing a really good job in his first encounter in the Supercar Challenge powered by Hankook. Not a bad job for a team with only 2 mouths to feed. Of course, BS Racing that runs the orange BMW, if things go wrong in the weekend, they've got a dozen or so volunteers, so it'll be all hands on deck. They're likely to get it finished first. Scheuers down the inside of Nutgeboren, and he picks up 9th in Supersport 1. But at the moment, Olivier Nutgeboren on his way to a top 10 finish. Further up the road, 4th place battle in Supersport 1. Luc van Loon taking over the familiar family BMW from Father Ronald, hounding Toynis van der Grift, who puts on the right-hand turn signal, moves right, then changes his mind, moves left, and that allows the BMW to lunge up the inside, and so too Costa Canaroglu in the Ginetta, but the door closes. The Seat wasn't expecting to be dive-bombed by the two of them. And look at Robert van den Berg in the 1 Series, through he goes. So he gets by Canaroglu. And the Seat lost a spot. Now it's lost a second. Has Toynis van der Grift got a problem with that blue and white Seat Leon? He's dropped 2 spots. And here's how it happened. Left the door too far open, shut it too late. Costa Canaroglu was already there. Left-hand drive Seat may not have seen the low Ginetta, which is below his door line. Rain now starting to arrive on the southern part of the circuit. That was forecast, but was never quite sure whether it was going to turn up. And then hail arriving as well. On board with Costa Canaroglu all over the back of Toynis van der Grift. Sport Class Clio staying out of the way of the Supersport cars. Slippery conditions, they're all on slick tyres, don't forget, so who's got the better traction? And can anybody stay out, or will they all have to come and change onto wets? I think the hail has answered the question. They are all going to have to come in. On board with Luc van Loon, heading into the pit lane. Oh, it's all getting a bit out of control in the BMW. And he clatters into the pit wall, damaging the right front corner. And that is the end of the race for him. A real shame, coming into the pit lane, trying to play it safe. This programme is powered by Hankook tyres, Autosportinsurance.com, Valero race and rally base layers, and Magla, create your own digital magazine. This programme is powered by Hankook tyres, Autosportinsurance.com, Valero race and rally base layers, and Magla, create your own digital magazine. Round 1 of the Supercar Challenge powered by Hankook at Zandvoort in the Netherlands. Weather conditions at the start of race 1 were good. Bas Schouten and Vaard Slijs in the BMW Silhouettes leading the GT class. While after the pit stops, a lead change in Supersport 1. Erik van der Munkhoff and Henry Zumbrink's BMW retaking the lead of the field. But when it suddenly started to rain and hail, everything went wrong for Luc van Loon, coming in for wets, crashing into the pit wall and out of the race. Track conditions unpredictable, extremely wet on the start-finish straight, just wet out the back. Most people hanging on slicks. Marcel van Berlo with the blue bonnet, finally getting it past Edward Growls for 4th place in GT. Egger's brother Roger coming in for rain tyres, but he has a similar problem to Luc van Loon. Standing water, looping into a spin. Luckily, he manages to make it into the pit lane undamaged. The team have been practicing tyre changes since Thursday. They've scrubbed in their wets. This is exactly what they were hoping for. A clockwork pit stop and perfect wet weather tyres. Things not going so well for JR Motorsport. Peter van Solen going very slowly towards the pit lane. Vaard Slijs coming in for a 3rd pit stop after the extra one to change to rain tyres. The car stuck in 2nd gear. Turns out to be a problem with the wiring. Disappointment for the team, but Vaard Slijs remaining optimistic.
Ja, het is maar de eerste.
It's only the first racing weekend, no real big deal. I think we'll still look back at Zandvoort with good memories. It's a really fun championship this year, got a lot of racing left to do, so nothing's lost. Hopefully we'll make a good comeback in Austria. Vaard Slijs was able to finish the race in 6th position. Peter van Solen out though. A wheel came loose, damaged the rear hub, and his race is over. Mark van der Aar disappointed to see his hard work coming undone. The wheel change didn't go as it should have done. It wasn't properly seated, so the wheel got a bit loose, chewed up the hub, ended my race, stuck in the pit lane. Roger Growls taking the lead in GT in his Porsche. Brother Edward up to 2nd on his return to racing after another fast pit stop by Team Racart. Marcel van Berlo hot on his heels, back again in 3rd place, but again van Berlo the quicker one of the pair in the rain. Bearing in mind though, Edward Growls not racing for the last 5 or 6 years, so he's really easing himself into this new 991 GT3 Cup car. He wanted to do a bit of testing, but he was asked to join the team right from the first race. Marcel van Berlo, on the other hand, of course, raced the Porsche last year, so he is fully up to speed and just uses that knowledge and advantage in the treacherous conditions to ease back in front. Roger Growls is already familiar with the Porsche after doing the Carrera Cup Benelux last year, as well as some supercar races. Team Racart now doing the full supercar season with the brothers. What about veteran Bob Herber, using the spare car from JR Motorsport because his new machine isn't ready? JR Motorsport working on a new M3 GTR F80. He gets by Edward Growls for 3rd place in GT. But the older BMW doesn't have the horsepower of the Porsche, and Edward Growls comes back at him. The BMW dealing a little better with the corners perhaps. Bob Herbert sticks to his task. He knows that he has got a cornering advantage over Edward. The prize overtaking opportunity here is at the end of the straight into the big right-hander they call Tarzan. Bob Herbert goes the long way round the outside. The Porsche underneath the lime green Marcus Mantis of Bert Moritz. And Herbert finds himself once more staring down the Porsche's exhaust pipes. But there's more traffic ahead. And this time Edward Growls perhaps a little cautious as they try and go round the BMW. Once more Bob Herbert right with him. As they climb the hill on the slippery Zandvoort track and head towards Skyflak, Herbert is exactly where he wants to be, piling the pressure on the Porsche. He goes the long way round the outside at Skyflak. A brave move, but out there's as much grip as on the racing line, perhaps even more. Bob Herbert's hope of rain was rewarded, the slippery surface undoing some of the power deficit the BMW suffers. Roger Growls wins the race in GT. Bob Herbert taking third place in the spare car, celebrating with his son. Roger Growls, Marcel van Berle making it a Porsche 1-2. Only Bob Herbert breaking up Porsche domination in the slippery conditions.
Ja, we hadden een vroege pitstop. Het regende niet. We hebben zo lang mogelijk uitgesteld. Maar
GT's had to do an early pit stop. We decided to stay out as late as we could. It wasn't raining. Didn't look like it would do soon. But of course it did start raining and then it was very tricky. Half wet, half dry. Just like at Spa. Couldn't continue like that on slicks. So I said to my engineer, we need to come in. Entry of the pit lane was really slippery. Did a 360. Luckily didn't overshoot or I'd have to have done another lap. Very slippery. Managed to crawl into the pit lane. I think luck was on our side then. Car was great today. The team did a fantastic job with the setup. I had an excellent handling car. Just perfect for the conditions. With third in race 1 and victory in race 2, it's Roger Growls who takes the championship lead in GT. But as Vard Sly said, lots more racing to come. This is just the beginning. The tyre change at Team Race Art Porsche made a big difference. The same is true in Supersport 1, where pretty much all the cars have 5 wheel nuts that have to be removed before the tyres can be changed. Whoever does this best will save obviously a lot of time. But what's even better is not coming in for wet weather tyres at all. Leader Henry Zumbrink and Robin Monster in second place stay out, and they're second and third in the points as well. The front-wheel drive Seat will be better in these conditions, but the BMW has the advantage is that it can take the ideal outside wet weather line, and the Seat can't accelerate on the racing line quite as efficiently. Both are on slicks. There's no grip where the rubber and oil are down on the racing line, which is the normal dry line, and so they are both out there looking for grip at the fringes of the track. And this is where all the racing drivers' armoury comes into effect. Occasionally braking a little earlier into the corner, Henry Zumbrink, to rob the Seat of mid-corner speed and make it impossible for him to out-drag him on the way out. The BMW there having the torque benefit, so you use your car's characteristics to their best, while also trying to deny your rival a chance to use his car's characteristics to their best, and therefore negating those if possible. Eventually though, in the closing stages, Henry Zumbrink will make a mistake, going wide in Skyflak, Robin Monster in the Seat using that front drive traction to get inside and take the lead. Martin de Klein closes the gap to Henry Zumbrink to take second place in his Seat as they come out of turn 10. De Klein, the reigning champion, is on a charge. And when Zumbrink gets held up in traffic with the GT cars, it's time to pounce. Despite the wheel spin, the front-wheel drive Seat has better traction in the slippery conditions. And through he goes. Nevertheless, after failing to finish in race 1, Henry Zumbrink is heading towards the checkered flag in race 2. Had the race been a lap longer, Decline might have won it. He almost caught Robin Monster just a second behind at the line as the checkered flag came out. So Dennis Heuveling and Robin Monster, the winners from the champions Dennis de Boers and Martin Decline, Eric van der Munkhoff and Henry Zumbrink, that new duo, getting their first points finish, third in race 2. Well, up to a certain level, the track conditions were good enough for slicks, says Robin Monster. With the slicks at racing temperature, you don't lose so much grip with a little bit of rain, but the more water there is, then you're all over the place. I kept my head. Henry did a great job as well. Good battle. After several laps, he went a little wide, and that's all I needed. And after that, managed to get by him at Skyflak, and the lead was ours. Really fun race, said Henry Zumbrink. We gambled on continuing on slicks in the rain and even in the hail. Looked like we'd win it, but in the final stages I lost the lead, ended up in third. Nevertheless, great fun race. Really good fun with Robin Monster. Super fun. Sixth in race 2 and victorious in race 1, it's Super GT champion from 2016, Costa Canaroglu, who leads the standings. Priscilla Spellman, Danny Croast in second, Dennis Heuveling and Robin Monster in third. The sport class have to deal with the faster cars as well as their own rivals. Pete de Geer in the endurance Peugeot RCZ had the lead at the start of the race from Melvin de Groot in the Peugeot and Chris Voet in his RCZ. Behind them, Harold Visselink in the BMW Silhouette and Kim Troyen in the Ford Focus Silhouette. De Geer kept the lead up to the pit stop. The battle between Melvin de Groot and Chris Voet, both with their 1.6 turbo engines, kept them entertained. As Pete de Geer, who shares with Martin Kuhl, eased away from the field, the battle behind only helped him build an advantage. Melvin de Groot in the Clio, Chris Voet in the RCZ, last year's championship runner-up with his partner Bart van der Broek. Both these cars with similar 1.6 litre turbo engines, and that means it's all about finding the momentum to outdo your rival, because you can't do it on power alone. This is where racecraft, a good racing line and the use of momentum are so important. When you have as little horsepower as these cars have to play with, you have to make sure that it's all conserved as much as possible. Chris Voet trying the inside line on Melvin de Groot, who was having none of that. But then in the slipstream, the Peugeot RCZ gets a good run going onto the straight. The outside line in Tarzan or the inside, it doesn't make much difference. It's still a great corner to make a pass on, and de Groot just doesn't have the overlap to hang on to second place. A nice clean battle. After the pit stops, Henk Tappel, who'd taken over from Harold Visselink, kept the BMW Silhouette out on slicks, the only one to do so, and they took the lead in the sport class. As a result, they claimed victory from the stoppers, the Peugeot RCZs completing the podium.
Nou, het ging eigenlijk helemaal geweldig. Het was natuurlijk,
Everything went superbly, said Henk Tappel. When I got in the car, it was still dry. Well, that takes a little bit of time to get used to, and then with the rain, it's even harder. So what do? Well, I could see it was getting a little bit better, so I stayed out there on slicks, do my best, and that turned out to be the best gamble. Chris Voet and Bart van der Broek missed out on last year's title because of a broken engine mount in the finale at Assen. They have the lead now, while reigning champion Bart Drost trails in 7th. And that is it for the opening round of the Supercar Challenge powered by Hankook from here in Zandvoort. Next time out, the Red Bull Ring in Austria in mid-May. We'll see you then. This programme is powered by Hankook Tyres, Autosportinsurance.com, Valero Race and Rally Base Layers, and Magla. Create your own digital magazine.